Good morning. We'll call this meeting of the House Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee to order. Mr. Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Representatives Fritz, Grills, Hardaway, Harris, Holsey, Hurt, Jones, Marsh, Martin, Reedy, Ritchie, Shaw, Travis, Vital, Wright, Vice Chairman Darby, Chairman Todd. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, if you'll all stand, I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, we'll ask Representative Hurt to lead us in a prayer, please.
Bow your heads with me, please. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and thank you for the opportunity to be here, dear Lord. Thank you for each and every one of these individuals and that surround me, dear Lord, and I pray that you'd be with each and every one of us as we go through the day. Keep us safe, and please give us your wisdom as we make important decisions. Again, thank you for the many blessings. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Any personal orders this morning? Yes, Representative Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and if everyone would help me welcome my wife of 33 years, Laura Travis.
Glad you joined us this morning. Glad you got him here on time as well. Any other personal orders? Seeing none, I want to read you a little historical fact at this point. This is about Tennessee Century Farms program. The Tennessee Century Farms program was created in 1975 by the Department of Agriculture for the bicentennial celebration. Through this program, the Tennessee Century Farms program has a farm in all of Tennessee's 95 counties, at least one farm in each county. The goal of this program is to honor and recognize the contributions of families who have owned and farmed the same land for at least 100 years. The first farm to be admitted in Madison County is the Sykes Farm. This farm began operations in 1822. That is 201 years that this farm has been part of this growing network of farmers that have owned and operated a farm in the same family. It's important to recognize the tremendous contributions of the farms of Tennessee and what they make to this state and to the country. We want to thank the department for that program and continuing that for our citizens. This time we're going to take a little detour out of order, rearrange our schedule just a little bit, and we're going to go out of session and hear from Jeff Berry with the Tennessee Environmental Council, and he's going to be speaking on the Tennessee Tree Day resolution. So without objection, we'll go out of order. Mr. Berry, if you'll approach, introduce yourself, and then I think you have a presentation, and you can proceed, sir. Can you make sure your microphone is on there and try to speak either one of those and speak into it? The red light will light up.
Testing.
There you go. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Todd and Vice Chair Darby and committee members. My name is Jeffrey Berry. I'm CEO of Tennessee Environmental Council, and it's an honor to be here and share a bit of a story with you about our role in helping take care of Tennessee's beautiful environment. Our organization was founded in 1970, the Tennessee Environmental Council, so we have a long history of working on behalf of our environment here across Tennessee. Our mission is helping people and communities improve our environment. And with our vision, what we're working towards that improvement is thriving habitats, a circular economy, and climate balance. I mean, who doesn't want these things for our state? So that's what we're working towards. And one of the most important efforts we do to achieve that long-term vision is our project called Tennessee Tree Day. And the Tennessee Tree Program was founded by Dr. John McFadden, our former CEO and current senior fellow, as well as CEO of Green Interchange. And Cynthia Hernandez is our tree program manager, who makes sure that our Tree Day effort comes across every year and is successful. And it's a statewide tree planting event, and it takes a lot to put together a statewide event. And we set up 150 tree distribution locations across the state. And these are so that we probably have a tree pickup location in all of your districts. So we're serving your constituents. But that's what it takes to get 100,000 trees across the state of Tennessee. But we don't plant all those trees. We ask people in the communities to plant those trees at their homes and farms. And so we have 150 tree pickup locations. We're going to have about 6,000 or 7,000 tree planting locations. And then 25,000 volunteers is the ballpark. That's what we project for Tree Day 2023, which takes place on March 18th. And so the resolution is a very helpful thing for us. And so we really appreciate you moving that through the committee and passing that. And I don't know why the screen blanked out there, but it's still up here. I brought my hand puppets, so I'll just continue. But this effort would not be possible without all of our partners. Hey, thank you for coming back. And so we want to honor the sponsors and partners. Namely, the most important one for us is the Tennessee Division of Forestry, which you'll be hearing from momentarily. David Arnold's been a champion of this effort for many years. This is our 9th annual statewide tree planting event, Tree Day, coming up in March. Online tree reservations close on February 26th, so we have time to process thousands of orders and get those trees from the East Tennessee Nursery, operated by the Division of Forestry, out to all those 150 pickup locations. LKQ, Memorial Foundation, Penske is a big supporter, Atmos Energy, and National Wildlife Federation, Tractor Supply Foundation, FedEx is a supporter this year. These are all some of the many sponsors that make it possible. And then, of course, it wouldn't be possible without all the thousands of volunteers that sign up to actually plant the trees with their families. And we get reports from people year after year about how enjoyable the process is for them to get out there and plant the tree with their families and watch those trees grow. And we see the pictures of people posting their trees over the years. And we do actually do surveys to see the survival rates of those trees, and we have about 80 to 85% survival of those trees that we plant. So here's a gentleman in Middle Tennessee that planted a tree, and you can see it's grown a lot, because when we hand them out, they are seedlings fresh out of the nursery. An important thing that we want to share with you is that next year, we will, so actually to go back, Dr. John McFadden set a goal in 2007 when he was the executive director of Tennessee Environmental Council of planting 1 million trees in Tennessee. That was back in 2007. I came on board and started helping out as well in 2014. And since 2014, we've planted 700,000 trees, which means next year, combined with the trees he planted on his initiative, we're going to hit our 1 million tree mark next year. So Tennessee Tree Day 2024 is going to be a momentous occasion for us, and we look forward to working with you all to make that the biggest celebration for the state of Tennessee that we can. So it's coming up. Mark your calendars, and if you want to come out to any of those local pickup locations, you can find out where they are on our website. Just Google Tennessee Tree Day, and you'll find that map of all the locations. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Representative Reedy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here. And of course, I live and work on a fourth-generation family farm, and it was, let's see, the previous year it was planting of the white oaks, and then it was mulberries last year. What species are going to be available for the public in this program this year?
Mr. Berry?
Thank you for the question. We have 10 native species, and 75% of those trees are coming from the East Tennessee Nursery. We have white oak, we have tulip poplar, elderberry, flowering dogwood, we have Virginia pine, Cynthia, redbud is a cherry bark oak. We have red cherry, indigo bush, and button bush as well. So we try to get as diverse of a mix every year, and we always like to get the ones that people love the most. Redbuds always go really fast. But those, I think we hit most of those species. I might have missed a couple, but.
That's right, but it's exciting, the variety that you have out there, and of course, that's a recommendation. The committee members or those who are listening in the audience or live streaming, and it's, go get a family member, your kids, go out and plant a tree, because you may not see it to its mature status, but then your kids get to brag about you and that day that you went out and planted a tree. But thank you for being here.
You're welcome, thank you.
Representative Fritz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for what you're doing. It's tremendously important. There's a great satisfaction in planting that tree and watching it grow. It's a little bit of a technical question, and it's not a gotcha if you don't have it. It's just a curiosity you raised. How many cubic feet of carbon dioxide does an average red oak or a poplar bring in, and how much oxygen do they put out?
Mr. Berry?
It's a tremendous amount. I have some of that data. Okay, so first of all, the amount of oxygen in a white oak tree or one of the heritage trees, native trees of Tennessee, will produce enough, a mature tree, enough oxygen for a family of 4 year-round. So every tree is giving us oxygen, each of our families. So 100,000 trees, that's 100,000 families. And then as far as carbon, I don't have the exact number on, but it's significant over time. It's millions of pounds of carbon that are sequestered by the trees we plant every year. And so we plant 100,000, roughly 80 to 100,000 a year. So it adds up significantly.
Representative Fritz?
It's one of the best ways to bring carbon back out of the atmosphere.
Thank you so
Natural.
much again. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Shaw?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, please don't laugh at me, but I'm going to ask you something I think's silly, but is there any certain time of the year that you should plant certain kinds of trees? And I ask you that because the last couple of years, I haven't been successful at tree planting as I'd like to be. So can you help me out a little bit?
Mr. Berry, any advice for our rural farmer would be helpful.
Well, I'm a city boy, but I have planted a lot of trees, and with the help of everybody, that makes this possible. But the best time of year to plant a tree is essentially between November and March.
Any tree?
Any tree.
Okay.
Yeah, any tree.
Okay.
Now, if you plant it in the summertime, why it's going to be not as successful because the tree is at that point no longer dormant. If you plant the tree while it's dormant, there are very minimal energy demands on that tree, so it's going to have a better chance of survival. Then you got all the rains of the winter season that are continually watering that tree while it's in the ground. And if you plant it right and you plant it at the right time of year, you really don't need to water it very much, although when it gets hot and dry in the summer, it is good to add gallons of water, several gallons a week. Thank you. You're welcome. And keep the base, keep mulch around the base will help as well. And feel free to reach out if you want some more hands-on help with that. We'd love to help out.
I would second that moisture is critical, and planting at that time of year is going to get you the most moisture, and having the mulch around it's going to help hold the moisture in the ground and give it to those roots that are young and still spreading. Representative Hardaway?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for being here, sir. First thing I want to do is to offer my assistance to the rural farmer from the urban ag expert on how to plant a tree that lives. But I'd like to, and that's just fun with myself and Representative Shaw. He knows way more about farming than I'll ever know. So, but when I think about trees and I think about the inner city, I'm motivated to pursue two things at once. One is the trees. The other is to make available fruits and nuts that would come from those trees and address some of the nutrition issues and food desert issues within the inner city. Do you have programs or any of these trees? I didn't catch the name of any that I could identify as nut or fruit trees, but do you have those, and can you make those available in similar programs, if not these?
Mr. Berry?
Your question has reminded me of a couple more species of trees that we do offer, and we offer wild plum and sweet pecan. Are there any other fruit trees? Oh, the cherry, red cherry, black cherry. And persimmon. So we have several. We always offer several fruit or nut-bearing trees every year. Another thing about the inner city is we do research on the areas, the urban areas in Tennessee that have the lowest. It's called lowest tree equity, and there are actually maps that you can look at now that show that certain areas of our cities have very little tree canopy compared to other areas. And so we've actually targeted several communities in particular in Memphis with our grant from FedEx and One Tree Planted to go into those communities and actually offer, we've done thousands of postcards to those residences in those lower income and tree deprived neighborhoods. And we have had hundreds of people respond to those, to plant trees in those neighborhoods. So we do prioritize those underserved communities, not just in Memphis, but also all across Tennessee as much as we can.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Chairman. What I envision, and I thank you for that initiative, what I envision is not only the singular homeowners, or I guess if they get permission, those who are just residents, period. But one of the ways that I thought we could address vacant lots and the need for regular maintenance, cutting grass, et cetera, was to plant trees. And I don't know if you have such a program, but I'd love to work with you in developing one if you don't have one.
We don't have one specific for vacant lots, but that is, especially in an area like Memphis where there's an inordinate number of vacant lots. We'd love to figure out how to target those other areas as well. There are, I believe, 2.6 million households in Tennessee. So residential properties are primary locations, first of all, because people have more of a vested interest in taking care of that tree. And so that's why we do target private residences primarily, but any other ways we can expand. And I love what you said about replacing some lawn areas, because we have we don't just plant trees, we also have a statewide pollinator habitat program where people can plant native pollinator seeds in their yards and create gardens that support our native pollinator insects. We have a stream restoration effort, a statewide composting effort, a statewide recycling roundup series that's going on across Tennessee. So we do offer a lot of different ways for people at home in particular, but not just at home, to get involved to improve our environment.
Representative Hardaway.
All right, I'd appreciate that. Looking forward to working with you. If you and your cohorts would get with me, and if you would also make whatever information you have available to the chairman so he can share it also. But I'd like to hear from you directly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Seeing none, we appreciate you coming and sharing this information with us today.
Thank you all.
We'll go back into session now. We're in session, and first order of business will be, I'm going to let you know that item number 3, House Bill 111, has been rolled 1 week. And so we'll be taking up, that bill is rolled 1 week. Taking up item number 1, HJR 0055 by Chairman Kiesling. We have a motion and a second, sir. You're properly before us, and you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. And it is an honor to be standing in front of you today on behalf of Leader Lambert. We are here to present, as the Chairman read, HJR 55, and it's known as the Cumberland Trail Resolution. I want to thank the subcommittee for getting me this far with this, and I want to take you back to 1971, where we, as a General Assembly, passed the Tennessee Trail System Act, which laid the framework for establishing the state scenic trails and state recreational trails within our state, including now the Cumberland Trail State's Scenic Trail, which connects with portions, by the way, of the Justin P. Wilson Cumberland Trail State Park. Now, this entails about 11 counties. I think it's correct. 11 counties across our state. Statute requires that this proposed route be recommended to us, the General Assembly. The resolution satisfies that requirement, and after over 50 years of significant time, labor, and monetary investments from numerous federal, state, local, and nonprofit partners, it signifies the imminent completion of the trail. We truly have no doubt that this trail will set up economic opportunities by attracting visitors near and far to Tennessee and establishing a tourism corridor to create and promote our unique recreational, outdoor, and hospitality opportunities. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will pause in the action and entertain any questions.
Thank you,
if
sir.
there should be some, Mr. Chairman, I might add, if permission, if you allow me, that we do have folks from TDEC here that assisted me on this. That by
Certainly.
permission,
Okay.
if I can't answer it, we can
All right.
get that too.
Thank you, sir. Representative Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman Kiesling. My comments are relative to the fact that the Cumberland Trail is one of the greatest assets in East Tennessee. It starts at Cumberland Gap, goes to the Tennessee River Gorge in Hamilton County, 300 miles of some of the most scenic trails and vistas across Tennessee. And I would just say it is already a major economic energy across those counties for hikers and tourists who want to see the green vistas of Tennessee and the Cumberland Plateau. So I'm thankful you're bringing this resolution. The designation is well-deserved, and it's an important part of our heritage. And thank you to the General Assembly in 1971 for starting this, and the fact that portions of it are named for Justin P. Wilson is significant. He is a true steward, not only fiscally, which he is recognized for, but environmentally. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Question's been called. Without objection, we'll be voting on HJR 55. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. You move on to calendar and rules, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. And I'm going to be saddened that I can't stick around and watch this presentation here later from the Forestry Commission.
You're more than welcome to keep.
I know that, but I've got
our
another
company, sir.
committee that I've got to get to.
I
Thank you.
understand, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I want to pause for a moment of personal privilege. I have a guest here with me today that joined us a little bit ago. Sam Bryant is sitting over here from Madison County. He is the owner of the Samuel T. Bryant Distillery in Madison County. Make him feel welcome. Representative Marsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have some special guests here today. Also, my sister Susan and my brother-in-law Mike and Susan Mayfield from Giles County. Welcome.
That brings us to item number 2 on our calendar, House Bill 81 by Representative Capley. Do I have a motion? Motion. We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're properly before us and you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, committee. Mr. Chairman, hope y'all are doing well. Just wanted to let this committee know that this is a TDEC administration bill, and after a rigorous selection process, they chose a boy from Lawrence County to carry this bill. So I bring this before you this morning. This bill will allow Tennessee State Parks to disclose information contained in motor vehicle accident reports in the same manner as these reports are disclosed in the rest of the state. So insurance companies, as you know, often need motor vehicle accident reports to process an individual's claim. Under the current law, state park staff need the express authorization of the guests to do so. So this bill would eliminate that requirement. And that's all I got, Mr. Chairman. If y'all have any questions, I think TDEC is hung out with us, so they're more intelligent than I about this issue. So
Thank you, sir. Representative Grills.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative Capley, I'm sure that process by which they reach out to find someone to carry this bill is rigorous. Yesterday was Valentine's Day, and most people wear red on Valentine's Day. But I decided to go a little different, and I wore pink. What did you wear yesterday?
I wore pink, Mr. Chairman. Had a pink shirt and tie. And
Representative Grills.
Last week, we had a conversation about this very bill, I believe, about what you were wearing. And I asked a question that had something to do with, is there someone on this committee you admire or look up to? And since you've had a week to think about that, have you come up with an answer?
Representative Capley.
Mr. Chairman, there are many things that I look up to you for, and fashion is definitely one of them at the top of the list.
Representative Grills.
Question on the bill.
Question's been called. Without objection, we'll be voting on House Bill 81. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. You move on, sir, to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr.
Finally.
Chairman, committee.
And that completes our business for the day on our calendar. We have one more presentation, a very important presentation. We'll go out of session for that. Without objection, we're out of session. And we will hear from Mr. Tom Midgett with the Tennessee Forestry Commission and hear about their annual report. Mr. Midgett, you are recognized, sir. And I would steer
Thank you,
away
Mr.
from
Chairman.
I would steer away from any comments about fashion at this point, sir.
I'm not going to get into that whatsoever. Mr. Chairman Ty, members of the committee, I'm Tom Midgett, the current chair of the Tennessee Forestry Commission. On behalf of my 6 fellow commissioners, I'm pleased to present the fiscal year 2022 Tennessee Forestry Commission's annual report to the General Assembly. Forestry, as each of you well know, is vitally important in Tennessee, providing beautiful landscapes, wood products, clean water, and abundant wildlife habitat. Tennessee has over 14 million forested acres. I'm told that we have more forest in Tennessee today than when Daniel Boone roamed these parts. Forestry, either directly or indirectly, employs over 100,000 Tennesseans. While enough cannot be said about the importance of the forestry industry to Tennessee's economy, in both jobs all across the state and its favorable impact on our state's gross domestic product, I want to take this opportunity to tell you about and to give recognition to the employees who comprise Tennessee's Division of Forestry. Under the very able leadership of our state forester, David Arnold, who's here with me today, and administered from 4 district offices across the state and 1 nursery reforestation office, the 400 employees of the Department of Agriculture's Division of Forestry have numerous and sometimes unique responsibilities. These 400 employees are comprised of 309 full-time employees and 91 part-time employees who are typically employed during the wildfire season. Just as a comparison, our state fire department, 400 people, including 91 part-timers, compares to Davidson County alone that has over 1,100 firefighters and emergency responders. The Division of Forestry's highly trained men and women not only advise and support forest landowners all across the state, they also very effectively manage each of our state's 15 vibrant and productive state forests. Additionally, they increasingly work with our cities and towns, and as more and more appreciation and value is given to urban forests and tree canopy. This photograph is taken at the East Tennessee State Nursery up on the Hiwassee River in East Tennessee. It shows our nursery staff hosting a tour for the Tennessee Forestry Association, the Urban Forestry Council, and the Tennessee Environmental Council, who you just heard from. And if you look real closely, you'll see Jeff's picture there in that photo. This East Tennessee State Nursery, the only state nursery that we have, provides approximately 75% of the seedlings that the Environmental Council likes to plant. That means next year we will have supplied 750,000 trees to be planted in this state. The Forestry Commission strongly supports the East Tennessee State Nursery, where various high-quality tree seedlings are grown and made available to Tennessee landowners. This ensures the future of forestry in this state. The Commission views the nursery as essential to Tennessee continuing its leadership role in sustainable forestry. The men and women of the Division of Forestry, in addition to the work that I just mentioned, serve another very important role. They comprise one of the most efficient and proficient wildfire suppression organizations in the country. These individuals operate the heavy, specialized equipment which assists local firefighting organizations in controlling wildfires wherever and whenever they occur in our state. As you can see, our firefighters in this picture don't choose where these fires occur. They don't choose when they occur. And they often have to operate in some very, very tough terrain in containing these wildfires. This picture illustrates the narrow, winding roads in many mountainous areas of East Tennessee in particular, some of which are so severe that traditional firefighting equipment can't operate on them. You can note the home in the background, which is indicative of the development occurring in forested areas all over our state. You can also see the smoke immediately behind the dozer from the fire that is threatening that home and others like it on the side of that mountain. Just last year, the Forestry Commission honored a division employee who, in the face of a major wildfire in East Tennessee, drove his heavy equipment up and down the side of a mountain 2 times to rescue 3 volunteer firemen who were about to become trapped by that wildfire. In addition to firefighting, these same division employees are called upon to assist other state agencies in responding to emergencies across the state, such as clearing roads following ice storms and tornadoes, flood recovery, and other emergencies. The individuals who comprise the Tennessee Division of Forestry are also dedicated to helping every Tennessee forest landowner enhance and improve their forest. They're at the same time managing our 166,000 plus acres of Tennessee state forest. These foresters also help protect our streams and our environment. As I said previously, these employees are dedicated and highly trained to save the lives and the properties of Tennesseans from inevitable wildfires. Whether it be in the coves and mountains of East Tennessee, the plateaus and valleys of Middle Tennessee, or the pine forests and river bottoms of West Tennessee, they are ready and able to move. I also want to use this opportunity to highlight a serious issue that is facing our forestry industry. The workforce in the forestry industry is aging, be it harvesting trees in the woods, operating the heavy equipment, gathering the trees to be loaded onto a truck, or even driving those trucks. As Governor Lee emphasized in his State of the State address to you last week, Tennessee has to continuously develop its workforce, not just to retain jobs, but to grow job opportunities for Tennesseans. The Division of Forestry, with the support of the Forestry Commission, is participating in several efforts to apprise today's young people of opportunities in the forestry industry. The Tennessee College of Applied Technology, or TCAT as it's called, in Wayne County and also in Lewis County, have successful forest programs in place. As shown in detail in our report, which you have in front of you, The Tennessee Forestry Association and the Division of Forestry are encouraging adoption of forestry-related courses in high school agriculture curricula and are continually meeting with young people to make them aware of job opportunities in the forestry industry. This is an illustration, a collage of pictures showing a Hamlin, Jefferson County Middle School career days in the spring of 2022 with over 1,700 eighth graders. The Division of Forestry and the Forestry Association hosted a booth at this event, and it was designed to attract these young people to careers in the forestry industry. The forestry industry is also participating in the mobile display of the Tennessee State Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Be Pro, Be Proud. I hope you all got a chance to walk through this mobile exhibit at the reception on January the 10th down at the State Museum. A previous General Assembly appropriated $1.5 million to purchase this truck, hire the driver, and begin outfitting the truck with this slide side unit. With a federal grant, the division is providing $100,000 to purchase a loader skidder simulated to be placed in the trailer to illustrate work in the forestry industry. The Division of Forestry is continuing a collaboration with the Alabama Forestry Association, the Tennessee Forestry Association, and the Forest Workforce Training Institute to expand the Forestry Works Workforce Training Program. Forestry Works is a collaborative effort of the Forest Workforce Training Institute and other partners within the forestry industry. The program's goal is to develop a pipeline of qualified workers for the logging and wood products manufacturing industries. Forestry Works incorporates innovation and technology to reach a broad audience through videos highlighting forestry industry careers, social media, outreach in other areas, promoting a consistent and recognized brand, leveraging non-forestry organizations, and developing high school trade curriculum. This unique approach to activities such as forestry-specific career fairs, forestry-specific high school trade curricula, and training programs designed to fill workforce gaps are examples of the innovation incorporated into this project. I have one other point that I want to make to you today. On behalf of my fellow commissioners, I especially want to recognize Department of Agriculture Commissioner Dr. Charlie Hatcher's support of the forestry industry. His very timely Zoom calls during COVID-19, his Commissioner Ag Timber Supply Chain tours like this one at Standing Stone State Forest. Here you see Commissioner Hatcher providing participants an overview of the timber supply chain, and try not, please, to be prejudiced by the fellow in the green shirt. Here's another short video of another commissioner tour where you will hear Commissioner Hatcher and someone else in their own words.
I'm Tennessee Commissioner of Agriculture Charlie Hatcher, and it's appropriate the governor has proclaimed this Tennessee Forestry Products Week. And this is the Commissioner's Forestry Supply Chain Tour.
And we do this to feature the forest industry supply chain in Tennessee, which is so critical to driving rural economies in Tennessee, especially in at-risk and distressed counties. Today we have brought local government officials, opinion leaders, agency heads, forest industry representatives, and Division of Forestry employees to look at and review and discuss the forest industry supply chain, from growing the trees on the forest, how we grow the trees, the dynamics of the forest, how forests work, to seeing those trees harvested through a logging job. And then we are at Speyside Mill today. We are looking at a stave mill and how those trees are processed into staves and value is added to that forest product.
During Tennessee Forest Products Week, I'm excited to be at Chickasaw State Forest, learning about the entire process of growing timber and feeding that timber into the supply chain so that we can support our communities with building houses and structures, furniture, and all kinds of things, and even barrels to make whiskey and bourbon. So it's an interesting process. We've got folks that are harvesting timber behind me that invest a lot of money in our communities to perform this type of agriculture, and I'm just excited to learn more about it and get to see it firsthand.
We're witnessing harvesting of some trees here in the different strategies that are applied to forestry management that are extremely important for production and really a source of a way we can stimulate some of these rural economies, because we have 52% of the state is covered in trees. So it's an important tool for economy. It's an important tool for Tennessee from a green standpoint, for some sustainability, from carbon sequestration. The importance of building more and more structures out of wood was talked about today, because you store carbon in those wooden beams and wood products that are in buildings.
I'm impressed to know that our Department of Agriculture and Division of Forestry is really big into the science of forestry. There's a lot of research and experience that goes into what we do, what we have going on even behind me here, and to know that they're constantly looking at those processes. They're also looking at feeding students into this arena, this career path. And we have courses at our TCATs that can help folks get into that industry, so that help feed that supply chain of workforce and workforce development. So it's an exciting time to be in Tennessee. It's an exciting time to learn about forestry.
So this is a very important day to us. We're excited to show feature this supply chain, so that we can support our forest industry, the markets that it brings about, help them deal with their workforce development issues, and ultimately create opportunities and job opportunities for people to enter the workforce in Tennessee's forest industry.
We appreciate your coming to that event, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Hatcher also has shown his support for the forestry industry by hiring a specialist in forestry business development to help develop maybe untapped markets for our forest products. We also appreciate his strong support in the state budgetary process. I want to conclude today with one final picture that I think says more than any words that I can say. As I mentioned earlier, our foresters wear many hats. To illustrate, this is a picture of the community outreach of Jeffrey Collins Key. He's a forestry supervisor at Chuck Swan State Forest, just north of Knoxville. Jeffrey not only manages Tennessee's third largest state forest and our second most productive, he assists forest landowners throughout Tennessee. And as you can see, he does conduct community outreach programs at Chuck Swan for children and adults all over East Tennessee, and particularly in the Knoxville area. But like all other foresters in the division, Jeffrey has what's called a go bag, packed and ready. If at 4 p.m. today or 2 a.m. in the morning, Jeffrey is called to respond to some wildfire or other emergency somewhere in Tennessee, he like every other forester in the division, has specific wildland fire response duties, and he also serves on the East Tennessee Grand Division Incident Management Team. Mr. Chairman, members, I can't say enough about how the employees of the Division of Forestry are true Tennesseans in the great volunteer tradition. They're standing at the ready 24/7 to help protect the lives and properties of their fellow Tennesseans. Thank you for your support. And David Arnold and I are glad to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, sir, for that. Anybody have any questions or comments for our presenter? Representative Darby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here, and a sincere thanks for what this state looks like, that's what y'all have done for this state. But I want to offer a sincere thank you to Mr. Arnold. We had an issue to come up in West Tennessee, and within 3 or 4 days, he made the trip to West Tennessee to resolve the issue, and I appreciate that. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Representative Jones?
Thank you so much for being here today, Mr. Midget and Mr. Arnold. I had a few questions just to kind of familiarize myself more with the work you all do. And so one of my questions was that in addition to wildfires and invasive species, what are some of the other threats to our state's forest?
David Arnold, State Forester. Probably, from my perspective, the biggest threat to our forests or our landowners aren't aware of their forests and their resources and what they have. So we try to provide them information so they can manage for their objectives, whether it's timber management, wildlife habitat, clean water, or just really cool areas to hang out is what I call it. So that's probably the biggest threat in my mind is just lack of information. We did mention wildfires. That's obvious, especially in Sevier County, where we have communities and homes are actually in the woods. We call that the wild and urban interface. That makes firefighting so much more complex and treacherous and dangerous, and you saw some of that in the position there. You also mentioned invasive exotic pests. That's a serious threat facing our forests, whether that's from emerald ash borer, y'all may be familiar with and have heard about emerald ash borer. That's an invasive insect that's killing our ash trees. We have no way to stop it at this point in time. Hemlock woolly adelgid is another invasive that is attacking our hemlock trees. And luckily, we do have some techniques where we can hold that one at bay. And then you mentioned invasive exotic plants. Kudzu is an example of that, and others that are impacting and affecting our forests.
Representative Jones?
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit more about the forest management programs that your agency has to protect forest soils and maintain water quality? Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and that gets back to, people have asked me what is the average or typical Tennessee forest landowner, and there's no such a thing because, as I mentioned, their objectives ranges from managing timber to they don't want to cut the first tree, and we have programs and information to offer them. I think the best service we provide is information. So we can help that landowner manage their timber appropriately. We can help that landowner that wants to preserve their properties deal with forest health issues, some of the insect and disease issues that I mentioned, invasive exotic plants. We work with loggers, timber harvesters, so when they harvest timber on a landowner's property that is not putting soil into our creeks and streams. And something that I'm very excited and eager about is we're working with the Governor's Office of Customer Focused Government. We're surveying our Tennessee forest landowners right now and asking them what services do they need from us to better meet their forest management objectives. And we sent out over 4,000 surveys. And the last count we had 900 responses. So there's something there. And we got one more week before that closes. And, we might get 1,000 responses from a 4,000 number survey, which is 25%. That's huge. So the customer-focused government office is going to help us summarize, distill that information to help us better align those programs that I mentioned meet Tennessee forest landowners' needs.
Representative Jones?
One point I would like to make is the vast majority of our woods and forests in Tennessee is privately owned by individual farmers that have a little woods lot or two on their property. There are some corporate tree farms, you might say, over primarily in eastern Middle Tennessee and East Tennessee, but by and large, our forests in Tennessee or small farm operations.
Very good point, sir. Representative
My final
Jones?
question, yes, Mr. Chair. I had a question too about particular species that we have that are at risk in our state when it comes to maintaining our forests. I think I took a tour of one of our state parks, and they're talking about the white oak tree we're trying to restore that. Are there any other species that you want to put?
Well, I mentioned ash. We have 3 or 4 different ash species in Tennessee: blue ash, white ash, green ash. We're concerned about those from emerald ash borer. Mentioned hemlock woolly adelgid. That's something of concern. The focus on white oak is because of the Tennessee whiskey industry and Kentucky bourbon industry. You have to have a white oak barrel to be able to call it Tennessee whiskey or Kentucky bourbon by law. And there's a huge demand for white oak to create those barrels. So we're looking at the utilization of white oak and trying to make sure that that's sustainable through time, and that we have the forestry practices on the ground that sustain white oak through time. So that's where the comments from white oak come from.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Representative Vital?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here. I think anyone who owns private land in Tennessee that has forests knows our biggest risk is fire. And I just want to make a shout out to the folks of the Division of Forestry at White Oak Mountain there in Bradley County, because they are some of the most responsive individuals. If they see smoke, they're already prepared because you want to get ahead of it. Workforce development was touched on. You're working with the TCAT program. I know at Cleveland State, we have a forestry, fisheries, and wildlife program. What are some of the other things you're doing for outreach to get young people interested in forestry and biology, the environment, be the future stewards of our forests?
Well, obviously, we're doing the outreach events like Chairman Midget mentioned with high schools. We're also we have a curriculum that's poised to be put in high schools, a forestry curriculum that can be taught through the agricultural arms of those high schools. So we're doing that as well. It's a big part of our general outreach to students to try to encourage them for careers in forestry. And it's significant that we have opened that door with the TCATs across the state. And in fact, the Division of Forestry, employed the first successful graduate of that TCAT program. They got their certificate at the end, and they're now working for us at Natchez Trace State Forest. It's a high priority of ours. We're trying to be creative to engage those young generation to help us out. Another thing that we're doing is this October, it's new. We're trying to pull together the partnerships to have what we call a forest industry job camp. We want to partner with TDEC State Parks. We'll try to have it at Natchez Trace because we have state park facilities there as well as a state forest. And we're going to show that supply chain that was highlighted in the video to FFA, 4-H, Manners, and some other groups of young people to bring them out to the woods, let them engage with some forestry professionals, and encourage them for a career in forestry. And we may actually tie the supply chain tour to that so that the commissioner and legislators and others can engage with those groups to help us tell that story and help us encourage them for careers in forestry.
Representative Vital?
I would just say it's so important, thank you, to get young people involved in the forest early, because it's more than just logging. It's hard to find a good logger. They're all aging, and they're booked. If you try to find a logger today, it's probably 18 to 24 months out. So how do we educate not only the importance of logging, but rejuvenation of our forests and the importance of forest management? So thank you.
One of the challenges that we obviously have, whether it's a young person in Bolivar or a young person in Greenfield or wherever they are across the state, is getting them off that couch and out from in front of that video game. When I grew up, we didn't have video games. I was out catching crawdads in the creek or catching grasshoppers to go fishing with.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't have that today, and we think and we hope that if we can show these people, as you say, at a younger age, and let them know that there is a real world out here that's got trees and animals and fresh air, that we can hopefully steer some of them into this workforce, like I say, that is critically aging.
And this is one of our highest priorities in my passion, so forgive me for resting here a little bit, but just came to my mind something that we also did recently is we met with the staff at Bolton High School in Shelby County and the Shelby County School Director. There's an opportunity for a built-in classroom there. They have agricultural lands and forest lands, and we met with them to try to see if we can kick off a forestry curriculum in that high school. They're already going a long ways to do some agricultural-related curriculum and looking into things like food manufacturing and issues like that. But we're excited about partnering with them to maybe start a forestry curriculum there as well, too.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for your time. I just want to send a quick shout-out thank you to your folks. Fires on Rockwood Mountain last year, hard place to fight a fire, but they stayed after it, so thank you so much. And would encourage folks that may own woodland that haven't done it, have a forest management plan done. It's tremendously important to know how many board feet of lumber you have, how much pulp. Good plan to harvest it. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning to you, sir. And I'm certainly interested in following up with you on the Bolton program. You described it as built-in. Is that just a turn of a phrase, or is there something unique about the classroom structure?
Well, the thing unique at Bolton is they have access to acreage. You know, there's some open acres for farming. They have some wooded acres, and it's a built-in classroom that many high schools don't have that advantage. So when I say built-in opportunity, that's what I'm talking about.
Representative Hardaway.
Right. So it's more their access and
Yes.
proximity to the forestry.
Yes.
All right. So the other part, if you could do it quickly, would be to expound on what our export business is, the economics of exporting wood, timber.
I'm not sure of the dollar value off the top of my head. I can say it's significant. I can say especially our hardwood sawmills are dependent on those foreign export markets, especially when you look at COVID. And right before COVID, we had the trade wars. Those export markets were shut down. And because of that lack of opportunity in those markets, we did have several hardwood sawmills that almost went out of business. So it's very dependent on export markets. And just down in the weeds a little bit, something very specific is red oak is one of our most common trees in Tennessee. The domestic market for red oak is pretty weak right now. The export market for red oak is pretty strong. So if you're going to harvest timber land in Tennessee, there are going to be red oak logs coming off of that timberland to get to the other species. We have to have a market or an outlet for those species. And at least for the last 5 to 6 years, the export market has been the place that those red oak logs and boards have gone.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Chairman. And if you would follow up with me on that, especially with the Bolton partnership and on the economics of export of timber, I'd like to delve deeper
Yes, I'd be
into
thrilled to follow up on Bolton, and we'll get you some more specific numbers on the
Right.
export market value.
Right. Thank you, Chairman.
Absolutely. Any more questions? Seeing none, we appreciate you being here and providing
Thank you.
this information for us today. Thanks
Thank you
for
very
all
much. Y'all have
do.
a great day.
And we'll go back into session. Any other business before the committee? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? We have a motion and a second. Without objection, we'll be adjourned.